When you hear the phrase soft as steel, what do you think of? While the word steel might conjure up images such as massive high-rise buildings, where does the soft part come in? And what exactly does this mean in our work and in our lives? Welcome to the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Doran, featuring engaging conversations with a wide range of industry leaders around soft skills, how we practice love, inclusion, social justice, and compassionate leadership that's everlasting in the workplace. And now, here's Dennis Doran.
Today is a special day for me and the Soft as Steel podcast. I have known today's guest for over 14 years. With 20 years in nonprofit organizations, Deb Martinez has held positions such as Executive Director and Senior Director for Professional Development and Conferences with responsibility of managing over 55 meetings annually worldwide. She has an extensive background as an association top executive, implementing and creating educational opportunities and collaborations with underrepresented and mainstream populations, and with the development and management of major meetings and conferences in national and international venues. She has received numerous awards and recognitions for her service to people and communities in her leadership roles. I believe that it was not until she became the CEO of the Mission of Love Charities in the Washington, D.C. area that she found her true calling. This organization successfully serves homeless and low-income families and individuals in the community. In February 2022, I invited Deb to participate in the Soft as Steel Summit to bring her experiences and perspectives to live roundtable conversation about topics including love, inclusion, and social justice. She is deeply connected and fully understands the essential nature of recognizing all individuals in communities. I'm so pleased to welcome you, Deb, to the Soft as Steel podcast.
Well, Dennis, it's such an honor. We have known each other for many a year, and we started out with our military engineer and your construction management background. So I look back and I say sometimes, I kind of miss that because you're so involved in different things, but I'm deeply appreciative to participate in this today.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Does my suggestion about what the Mission of Love Charities is for you, is that a fair way to say it? Do you believe this is your calling?
I think so. Every day I see people that need help, and help is readily available for a lot of people, but hope is another thing. And what the mission does is try to provide hope. And I think I've surrounded myself with staff that kind of have the same messaging and understanding and want to embrace this population and let them know that, you may be down today, but doesn't mean you're going to be down tomorrow. So I can give you bread, but then I need to teach you how to get your own bread. And then I need to teach you how to bake it, fry it, whatever you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm. So one of the projects that you have in some stage of development is to renovate a building in order to be able to better serve the local community. So there's a direct connection to the construction industry because you're looking to contractors and architects and engineers to support this project for your charitable organization. How is that proceeding? Where does it stand? And what's the future look like?
It is proceeding pretty quickly, and we're excited. We have a great, awesome chairman, Gary Michael, who has put forth a lot of effort in bringing us architects, engineers, environmental engineers. We love that term, environmental engineers, that actually are doing a lot of work in pre-planning for the actual creativity of what we're going to do across the street. We're going from roughly 20,000 square feet to 38,000. Wow. We're excited. We can help more people. We can create more classrooms. We can create more opportunities. And more than anything, we can create that package of hope. Yeah. And we're going to have not only mental health capacity, we're going to have education from OSHA training to water municipality training to CNA, GNA nursing, meeting planning, ESL, English as a second language. We're going to do all kinds of things. And the one thing that we're really, really happy about is that we're going to put some programs that will be able to help kids. And I'm excited about that.
That's terrific. The name of the organization says Mission of Love. You were in the summit where we spent a whole hour talking about what love is all about. What is it for you? What does it mean for you?
It means to me providing a blessing to someone who may not have that everyday good morning. I'm fortunate. I have a beautiful family, a lovely husband, wonderful children. Everybody doesn't have that. But if I've been so blessed that I could pass that blessing on to someone else, I'm certainly going to do that. So love to me is just that.
Yeah.
And coming here and seeing the need as we have and others, my goal is to provide people with that next step and to provide them with love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I may not can feed you every day what you want. I may not have the food that you want in-house. I may not be able to give you the clothing, but I certainly can tell you to come back. I can give you that cup of coffee, give you a warm sandwich and say, hey, I don't have it today. Come back on this day. Or you need this, I can help you with that, but you got to come back for the rest. And we've done a phenomenal job. We're now having intensive outpatient programs in which we're taking people off the street coming in. They come twice a week. We've got a doctor that's talking to them for 2 hours, and we're changing lives every day. People don't want to be on the street, and they don't want to be homeless in most cases. There are some that do, and we still take them into and say, hey, here's a sandwich, here's some hope. Tell us what you want to do. Because you can't make people change. You can only offer it to them.
Right. Right. And they can't change unless they want to.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you give them the pathway. They have to walk down it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're one of the roundtables that you were involved. You were in two of our roundtables. The one with regards to inclusion, and also the one where we talked about social justice. And the combination of those two terms, again, are what your organization is all about. The social justice piece extends to something that I know that you see in your day to day, that is an issue not only in communities in a very general and broad way, but also something which makes a direct connection to an industry that has an exceeding amount of challenge around things like mental health, addiction, suicide. And all of the terrible things that come with all of those. What are your thoughts about how we as communities are trying to help people within industries, but people in general, deal with the challenges associated with mental health, addiction, and suicide?
So, there are three things there. The mental health component of it is just totally over everything. That includes, suicide, drug abuse, drug addiction, depression. COVID brought a lot of that out. And you're beginning to see more and more, children suffering from anxiety. You see young adults suffering from anxieties. People don't want to go back into the office. And so what we're seeing is that in this community, the need is greater than it was before. And it is extremely, extremely important that we give these people some ray of hope here, and that we can bring them here, and we have licensed psychologists that will see them, or a licensed clinical social worker. And if we don't start really looking at this and trying to figure out a plan to help with it, we're going to be further behind the eight ball than we have ever been. Because we're seeing this disconnect as a result of COVID, the result of mental health, and it just bombarded everybody, but then it just exploded. And that's why you see crime the way it is. You see these kids with a sense of, they don't care. But you also see the ray of light where you find two or three that say, well, I want to come and volunteer, or what are you going to do for the summer? And so, that messaging of positive influence is there. You just have to find the conversation for each individual, because we're individuals. You can't put everybody in the same bucket.
Yeah. Has it's kind of a change in gears a little bit. In the past year or so, there was federal legislation passed to promote and expand the utilization of apprenticeship programs in the whole spectrum of society and industries. Have you been touched by that, or are you in dialogue with folks who are involved with apprenticeship programs? And
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So we have talked to the plumbers, the electricians, construction, you name it. We've been to their programs, talked to them. And it's a process for people to get into those apprenticeship programs. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I didn't know is that they have helper programs. And those helpers come in, they get somewhat initiated into trying to get them into the apprentice program. And they take that journey down. Okay, I'm going to come in. I'm going to start working as a helper. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. Then I'm going to try to sit for the apprentice program, testing, and then I'm going to go to the next level. And I see that that's really helpful because while they're a helper, they're getting money, and that's what they need. Yeah. They need some kind of income. Yeah. And so then you take them to the next level. Okay, now I'm in a helper's position, but I'm learning how to do cement. I'm learning how to do concrete. I'm learning how to do electrical work. Mm-hmm. So we see that. So I have to say the unions have been extremely good to me. Yeah,
good. That's very good to hear. And again, across the building trades, there's been some excellent work done. And what you're referring to as a helper, it's also described as being a pre-apprentice.
Yes.
And that's being utilized actively as a way to draw younger individuals into the trades, regardless of economic status.
Exactly. And that's our goal. We don't, everyone doesn't want college. They don't want that debt. And if you have a skill and that skill is trained, you know what I'm saying? A skilled trained worker can make as much as, someone that's working in a top executive level because of the need for those people to be able to be skill trained and to do the job. I have to say the plumbers, the electrical, the concrete guys, the cement people, they came over and really enlightened us and offered to, help. The one problem, like most people have, is we have a transportation problem, how to get the client from here or their home or wherever they are to the facility. Right. So that's what we're working on now. How can we do that?
Mm-hmm. Good.
Because that facilitation takes away a barrier that they have, that they feel, well, I'm not going to be able to go because I don't have transportation. But we're trying to make that barrier go away.
Yeah. And again, as you probably know, there are a number of programs also that are targeting, trying to increase the success in recruiting women into the trades. Specifically, so you basically have two elements to this. One is specifically related to women, and the other is related to underrepresented populations.
Correct.
And there's good work being done there. I'm glad. I'm sure people listening to this conversation will be glad to hear that you are successfully making connections with the institutions that can provide the opportunity for the helper or pre-apprentice training and exposure to get them ready to be able to go through the process of being evaluated and interviewed and accepted into an apprenticeship program. Because again, as you well know, apprenticeship programs are programs that you are getting the training and education in the trade or craft, but you are also being paid and on the payroll of a contractor or other organization who is utilizing you in your capacity as an apprentice.
Yep. Exactly. And they find that, when they go, they're like, oh, well, and then they come like, hey, this is not bad at all. I can do this. And it's just encouraging.
Yeah. I had the opportunity a number of weeks ago to participate in what was the last day of a 10-week program, a apprenticeship program that is entitled Women in the Trades. And this happened to be the Chicago version of Women in the Trades. And these young women, probably average in age somewhere in the late 20s, all had been identified, applied to, interviewed, and then selected to participate in this Chicago Women in the Trades program. And the last day of their experience in that program was actually a workshop that I was invited to give to. I believe there was probably 11 or 12 women in this cohort, And we spent the last day in their program talking about emotional intelligence and personalities. To help them understand themselves a bit better, and also therefore be able to understand other people. And as you know, I talk with a lot of energy and passion about the importance of understanding self, and then using that as a basis to try to establish relationships, build relationships, and have a path to success. I have to say, I don't have to say, I say it gladly, all of these women were exceptional, and they were energetic. They were articulate. They demonstrated an incredible amount of interest. At least maybe two of them were single moms, dealing with that. And I believe following the conclusion of that program, that as we speak today, so a number of weeks ago, out of the let's say 11 individuals, probably 10 of those have been hired by contractors to join their companies, which is an outstanding success rate. There's another program in Chicago called Chicago Cred, which targets individuals who have been incarcerated and trying to provide them a path to employment. So again, there's a lot of good things going on. I mentioned those two. I'm reminded to mention those two to you because they're other ingredients that could become connections that you might want to make to the benefit of some of the folks you're already serving and providing them other pathways.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
and the fact that women are doing so much in the industry, we also have to say that we're seeing seniors going back to work. So we see this large population that is suffering from either they retired too soon or, let's be realistic, the country's in a little bit of issues regarding, our finances and our debt, and the cost of living is just, it is what it is. But we have seen a large number of seniors wanting to take our classes, wanting to possibly go back to work. And these are people that probably took that early out, 52 to 55. Mm-hmm. Now they need to go back to work. So they're coming to some of the classes that we offer. We have an OSHA class next week with 12 people registered, and we'll be doing this in person.
Good.
So they'll be coming here, and we see that need. We see that need, where people need to be trained to do different things. Mm-hmm. So
that's terrific. I was looking at your core values, and I want to visit for a minute or two on each of them. Your first core value is you say that all homeless, low income, and disadvantaged individuals and families deserve to live with dignity. Certainly, it rings in my mind. That's about social justice. That's about inclusion.
Right.
How do you see that trending in a positive way, or do you, in terms of the expectation that people should be treated with dignity?
Well, I can say that it's half and half. I see some improvement in areas I would never think would be improved. I see people that are politically doing a lot in the state of Maryland and the country, beginning to humble themselves and get and understand what these people have gone through. So I see that happening, but I also see kind of like a hold on funding that could help us and help other nonprofits to do what we do. And so that's a kind of like an issue that I think all nonprofits are experiencing. It's not that all nonprofits just want you to give them money to just throw it away. But when you see what I see every day, a mother comes here not an hour ago, she's living in a car with 3 children. She comes to get groceries and hygiene kits. But why would I never treat her with dignity? Because I could be in that same boat. So I think that in one pocket, yes, I see a lot of people changing with that. But in the other side, the government has to know what they can do, and private industry has to put up some funding to help these people to get them back on their feet. I'm not saying social programs should last forever. I don't believe in that at all. But I do feel that we have to look at how we can structure that program. How can we make it so the average Jane Doe or John Doe who gets in this problem and an issue can finally do something? for themselves. And the only way is to have a government and non-government partnership. And this is where the nonprofits play a huge role.
Yeah. Well said. Your second core value says that training and education help impoverished people achieve dignity and stability.
It says it right there. I mean, most people don't want to not have a job. They want to work. They want to have their own funding. They want their income. I think people just have to sit back and say, dignity, what does that really mean for these individuals or myself? Because I have a job and have a house doesn't mean I'm totally dignified. I mean, you have to kind of like put yourself in places of where you see what I see. And this is when you said, was this a place for me? And I said, yeah, because Dennis, I've been fortunate and blessed to work in some of the best nonprofits in the country. And I learned a lot. I gained an enormous amount of knowledge, training, education. And now I said to myself, I got to pay it back and pull somebody ahead, hopefully enough people that they can then go make a change. You can't do anything, without a brother or a sister helping you. And in this race that we play now, this is everyone, from children, from high school kids to young adults to seniors. I have a senior program here. One of my case managers said, hey, we're getting so many seniors that are applying for SNAP benefits, which is a supplemental nutrition program for everyone. It's called SNAP. And seniors are in such need of food. But seniors is the first ones to say, I'll come volunteer. What do you have it? So every other Thursday, we have adopted seniors' homes around here. We take them food.
Are you seeing, again, some of the things that are in the news, one of the changes that's in this legislation is being considered today in Congress is change to the work requirements associated, I believe, with SNAP. What's their design, if there is one, for that? What's their thought process?
Well, I couldn't tell you what their thought process, but I can tell you what most nonprofits' thought process. There's nothing wrong with that. We have jobs now some of these people could qualify for. If you have children and young children, we get it. We get that. But at the end of the day, I got to be honest with you. It's not about that. It's about, if I'm going to feed you, I need to feed you knowledge. I need to feed you a job. I need to tell you how to get it and how to keep it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem if the person is, got small children, then you have issues of
childcare,
daycare, and the cost of it. And that's ridiculous with daycare providers. But then again, that's a job. It's a business. I get it. But we have to all kind of come to the table and say, what's going to be best for us as Americans? And I don't think we've sat back and said that. I look at people that were raised in the early 1900s, and because my grandmother used to tell me stories. And remember one day she said, when we had this really bad flu in 1919. And I said, oh, Grandma, here I have to listen to this story. And she was talking about the new COVID, the old COVID. And she said it killed half her family. Well, I lived to see COVID, and I remembered her story. So she told me how a chicken, she said, well, the way we got well was we took the broth off the chicken, and she said, Mama gave it to us every day, and we all got better. But the beauty of that is that she remembered it. My grandmother lived to be 98. And, she kind of like taught me a lesson. And I'm indebted to my grandparents and my parents for the sacrifices they made. I just recently found a photo from 1845 of my mother's family. I was just in awe.
Wow.
That's all I can say.
Wow, that's incredible. Just to be able to look at something like that.
Yeah. And to see, well, gosh, this is where I came from. And it's an amazing thing, but it's life. And, this is a journey. It's been a journey for me for years. I've been extremely, extremely blessed to have the education, the teachers, the friends, the mentors, and it's my time to give back. That's why, people say, why are you there? That's in one of the worst neighborhoods. Yeah, but they don't bother me. How you doing this morning, Miss Dad? Mm-hmm. I'm doing fine. How are you? Mm-hmm. We're almost protected.
Yeah.
All hell can break loose on Central Avenue, but we're okay.
Yeah, that's a good feeling to have.
It is.
Yeah. I want to just talk for a few minutes about today's roles, or the role of leaders in organizations. We have public organizations, private organizations, for-profit, not-profit, variety of different kinds of organizations that comprise the landscape of society. If you wanted to share with a group of leaders, and I would also say this before the question, that again, this, my focus in this podcast series is around things like the love, inclusion, social justice as important aspects related to people. I contend that every business, whether it's for-profit, non-for-profit, in construction, in insurance, in grocery, whatever it is, every business enterprise is a service business, and they serve people. So, if that thought makes sense, what do you say to leaders today about what are the most important elements of their role in providing leadership to the enterprises they're involved with and to the communities they live in? What would you say to other leaders?
Well, I think you have to share, and I think you have to be open-minded. I think you have to realize that in our lifetime, did we ever think we would see a pandemic? So that changes the total equation. Up until 2018, 2019, when this started coming about, we had that other thing under the Obama administration where they had the, I can't remember, Ebola, I would think it was. That did change a lot. I just think that we have to look at this from a broader spectrum and understand that we're in a place where we have to put forth our best effort. And I'm fortunate. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'm extremely happy to be here.
I had the privilege of conducting what turned out to be a 90-minute live version of the Soft to Steel podcast in front of a live studio audience at a major management union meeting in Las Vegas back in January. Mm-hmm. I prepped the group of individuals, all CEOs and executives of construction service companies, as well as the general president of the union that was holding this meeting. And I gave them a heads up on a few questions that would be part of my conversation with them. And the first one was, how is love present in your life, at work, at home, and in your community? And I asked each of them to respond to that. And the responses were interesting. If you ever get a minute, you can go and find that, and I've got the recordings of it. But the answers were interesting. I think your thoughts about the role of leaders today makes good sense. I think that one of the challenges in general is a challenge to leadership is a recognition of the difference between leading organizations and providing a vision for people. Mm-hmm. And I think that, what you do, most certainly, I'm sure it's part of your conversation on a day-to-day basis with your staff, and certainly, a driving aspect of the mission. And that is that I have to make sure that I am providing, in my words and my actions, a picture of someone who has a path that we can follow that will produce better outcomes for individuals and for communities. And that's what leading is all about today. What are your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. And my vision that I put on the table should never be a vision of what Deb thinks. It should be a community vision, because I serve a community. I serve people that come from all walks of life, even the people that work with me, who work for me, so to speak. This is a community, And this is a partnership. I should not be the sole person of making every decision. At the end of the day, because of my expertise, yes, if it's something I think that would totally be on the wrong road, I'm going to say something. But in general, you learn by error. So let these young people make mistakes. Let them see where they can be corrected and correct them gently. Tell them, hey, well, when Mr. So-and-so comes to the door, let's offer him again that opportunity to get into treatment or that opportunity to get them housing or whatever. You don't have to be aggressive and nasty, but you have to show that you got there by certain means. And that means is you experience ups and downs, you experience very good positive and also negative, and that makes you a better person as well as a better leader. Listen to your staff. Understand what they're going through. Try to make that day a little better for them as well as for you. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to go home with problems because you don't know what you're going to face the next day. You want to try to solve and help them. You want to mentor them, because I believe in encouraging, I believe in educating, and I believe in execution. Encouraging them, providing them that tool, that educational tool, doesn't have to be college. Mm-hmm. It could be training. And then executing that to say, hey, at one time, there are going to be people here, I'm going to say, you've outgrown us. Mm-hmm. I want you to go into that big world.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is what I feel is the road, the right road.
Very well. Very well said. So, Deb, you get the last word in our little conversation. We could probably talk spontaneously for a long time, but this has been a great conversation. I expect that people will listen to it and recognize that it's a different kind of conversation within the range of conversations we've had. In fact, I'm going to be interested to hear even my producer's reaction. But thanks so much for being my guest on the Soft as Steel podcast.
Thank you, Dennis. You're such a sweetie. We haven't had lunch at our place in a long time. We're going to give a shout out to Cheesecake Factory. Woohoo!
All right, Deb. Take care.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Doran. Dennis is the author of Soft as Steel and a leading speaker and trainer for organizations across many industries and verticals. To learn more about the work Dennis is doing to activate soft skills in the workplace, contact him at DennisDuranSpeaking.com. Be sure to check out his book, Soft as Steel, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or wherever you'd like to get your podcasts. And please remember to share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and anyone you feel would benefit from the conversation. We'll see you next time on the Soft as Steel podcast with Dennis Doran.
Produced by Audivita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.